Okay, somebody had sent me this video. It's obviously going to be like a heavy topic. It's from this channel called Special Books for Special Kids. It is the video itself is called "A Child with a Fatal Disease That's Not Profitable to Cure." That's the part that like really makes me want to like engage in this because I think it's preposterous that we don't invest into like stuff like this. Yeah, I understand that like it may only affect some people, but overall, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it sets a bad standard for something like that, especially with like a broken healthcare system in the United States in general, where like nothing is profitable enough. Like healthcare is not really supposed to be profitable. It's supposed to help people stay alive longer. But okay, let's get this one going.
The world to know about Harlow.
Harlow is extremely special. You know, her disease doesn't define her. She is the happiest little girl. She loves everybody, and her smile can light up a room. Yeah.
What is it like for you to hold your baby, know she's so loving and sweet, but also know her diagnosis and what the future may entail?
That's gonna destroy
I mean,
her,
it's hard. Like, when she was diagnosed, it was kind of, I mean, it's grief in its own way because you're grieving the life that you thought you were going to have and her, you know, high school graduation, her wedding one day.
Yeah.
You know, I try to embrace like the happy moments, but you know, every now and then that.
So they have this thing. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like pyruvative degenerate. Oh my god, it's called. It's a mouthful, but it's a genetic dude. It's some kind of a genetic disorder commonly associated with lactic acidosis, progressive neurological and neuromuscular degeneration. I wonder how long they live. That's got to be devastating, man. Because I feel like if you like you're saying, you had this kid, and then you have to like go through a grieving process before the kid even pass. Like I just, bro, I would never want to be in a situation like this. It doesn't seem like there's that many cases. It looks like it's something to suggest that there's only like 400 cases in the past like 50 years. That's crazy.
That sticks in the back of your head of when are we going to have to say goodbye?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Cassidy? What's your favorite thing about your sister?
I love about her that says Mama loves at
Are
me
they twins?
and laughs at me.
Our older daughter, like to see, you know, she's going to have to lose her sister one day. I mean, that was the hardest part. Was we were going to have two girls and to grow up as sisters, and I think that's been the hardest part, is knowing Cassie's going to lose her sister.
That's sad, man.
Do you prepare her?
Apparently, like, so I'm just looking into it on the side while I watch the video. So apparently, like, most of the individuals that get this don't live past childhood. Jesus, man, this is heavy. I feel bad. It's so interesting though, because like when I was younger, and I was still like somewhat old, I was in my teens. Like my aunt passed away, and I think it probably impacted me a little bit, but like it didn't because I didn't quite understand what was happening, and like I didn't like my aunt. And I know that's something that sounds shitty, but when you're a kid, you have a very selfish frame of thought, and so like I never internalized how bad it was, and like it never struck me as somebody passing away until I got older, and like, oh, it never actually did. It wasn't until I got older and like I started seeing people pass away when I was in like my adult years that it like actually was something that hit me, and I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like this is something that's like it's sad. So I wonder what the sister's relationship with this is gonna mean. You know, I wonder. There's probably the most of the emotional impact's probably gonna fall onto the parents, especially. Damn, man. Damn.
For that?
Not yet. I don't know how much she understands. I mean, we involve her in everything just because we don't want to blindside her one day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we tell her Harlow's special. You know, she knows. She knows we're in the hospital. She knows. And she always asks, "Did she get a shot?" You know, she'll come home with Band-Aids from blood work.
That's so sad. Dude.
I don't know how much she knows though. Like, what does she relate that to?
Yeah.
How would you just...
Bro, what a weird decision. Because like I feel like there's no right answer. Like she tries to involve her so that she doesn't like get, like she said, blindsided. But like if you were just to keep everything away from it, I would understand that too. What are you gonna? What do you tell her when she? Oh, this is horrible. How do you communicate that to her as like a kid?
Describe your family.
I love them and they are my best friend.
What is your favorite thing to do with your family?
Play with them.
Harlow loves her big sister, probably more than anybody in the world. Literally, since she was a little baby, her sister was the only one that could get her to smile. I mean, she would hear Cassidy come into the room and just immediately looking for her sister.
Cassidy, do you like to play with Harlow?
Are you a big sister? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you like to make your sister happy?
Because I love to.
You want to sit up now? Probably not pop your feet into it.
Is that how she communicates?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, she'll get fussy. But then, I mean, you can tell when she wants to be held. Like, she's been playing a game at night where she fusses, so you go back into her room,
Did they say how old she is? Like, I'm just wondering.
and she just wants to be held.
Would it be fair to say having a kid with such a rare disorder is complicated?
Yeah,
of course.
It's tough because sometimes we go into hospitals and I love the medical field's been really good to us and saying, hey, we don't know, and they'll be honest with us, and I love the honesty from the people we've seen and stuff, saying that they've never seen a child with her disorder, that her disorder is something you read about in a textbook, and it's not something that that they know about, and probably she will be their only kid they see with that disorder in their whole entire career.
How old was Harlow when she was diagnosed?
9 months old.
Wow.
And what is that diagnosis?
Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency. It's called PDCD for short. It's a mitochondrial disease with a metabolic side of it. Her
does
body
that mean?
cannot
Okay.
process carbohydrates like ours. We
Hey, same here. That's why I'm diabetic. Am I right, guys?
use it for energy. Instead, it takes glucose and turns it into lactic acid. So these kids can be put into metabolic
Wow.
acidosis with the buildup of lactic acid.
So my understanding of lactic acid is that like it's something that your body develops after you work out, and it makes you like sore and tight and not really able to move. So, and I could just be so wildly ignorant on this. Does that mean that if she eats like a carb, that she ends up like getting stiff and not able to like do anything, and just completely move and just be in like substantial amounts of pain? Because that would be horrible.
So also it's starving her body of energy.
Her disorder does not
Yeah.
process carbohydrates and in turn turns into acid and creates acidosis that can be fatal.
There is research that's 10, 15 years old, and it's from 2010,
Yeah.
saying that the PDHA1 gene mutation is a good candidate for gene replacement therapy. But
Why don't they
with
do it?
only 200 to 300 children, it's not profitable.
That's just fucking dumb. What a shitty system we have. Like, who cares? Like, bro, like, really, I mean, not to get too much into it, but like, bro, isn't it so sad? Like, imagine having a kid and they're like, yeah, sorry, we can't do anything about it because your kid, it's just not profitable to like keep your kid alive. Like, holy fuck. Like, imagine there was something that you could do, but and you could look at it and be like, well, from a pragmatic perspective, it's like, so to me, from a pragmatic perspective, I think it'd be good to do our best to deal with issues if we can. If we just didn't have the resources, like it didn't exist, like we just couldn't figure out the cure, like that's one thing. But just be like, yeah, your kid, like, oh, dude. Bro, like really, I don't know. Every day we really need to have better conversations about like healthcare systems and like how to, because this is just unnecessary that this kid is going to pass away even though it's preventable or potentially preventable. It's just like wrong. I don't know. It's just wrong. And we could sit here and we can make, oh, but oh my God, you have to, like, I don't have to understand. Like sometimes I think we could just be a little more emotional, be like, this is fucked. And maybe we should invest more resources in keeping this kid alive. Because like, why not? Like, why not set an example from a societal perspective that says like, if you have a problem, you're part of society and we're going to do our best to help you with that problem. It's like, well, it's not me, but it's like, okay, but what if you were born to be that person? You know what I mean? Like, what if your kid was born like that? Like, I'd rather pass on the love and like, have my taxpayer money go to helping this kid not pass away. Just on the nth of a percent of an off chance that I had a similar problem like that I would need help on. And if I never did, then who cares? Like, what's the worst that happens? You helped somebody. You helped somebody. Like, like, I don't know, man. But, right now we have in a good system where it's like $30 for a fucking Tylenol in the ER. So, God bless. We're definitely in the right timeline, guys. Am I right?
Rare diseases, it's the same thing. They all fall into that category of they're not profitable to cure. So
It's ridiculous to me.
that fully falls on the families to fund it. So that's where we're at now. But they have actually started research November 1st. And it's supposed to be a 2-year study.
How much are they supposed to spend on this?
And then hopefully,
imagine it's like, yeah, it's going to cost you like $500,000. Like, imagine being in a situation where you're like, okay, I can either save my kid or I have to sell my house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why put people in that position?
that'll go to clinical trial if we can continue forward with it.
And that's being funded by the families?
Yes, we our
Wow, I just guessed 500,000. Holy fuck.
2-year goal was $500,000.
That's
There's no real good
insane.
way to say it, but I mean, without being a mainstream disorder, you know, big companies are less willing to reach out to us and do research because it may not be the best interest of them.
If there's somebody watching this who's in a position to fund research for this disorder, what would you say to them?
These kids are worth it. Help us. I mean,
Yeah, God bless, man. I'm donating right now. It's ridiculous.
one of these children could change the world. I mean, they're perfectly made, but I mean, a life on a ketogenic diet. I mean, a life like that's not healthy for anyone. But I mean, again, we had to choose that for what's worse.
It's a tough call because it's a very strict diet. It's your ratios are high fat than protein and basically very to little carbs, carbohydrates. And I think that it's tough because you're gambling to an extent with the high fat. Obviously, we all know that fat can cause issues down the road in liver and kidneys and heart. But I think the trade-off is how much happier she is when from the keto. You know, it was, you know, everything, it's like any medicine or treatment, everything has its pros and cons. And we saw, especially with her, within 24 hours, the change in behavior was there already.
And she is, you know, as you can see, she's trying to set herself up here. You know, she has a lot of physical development delay, and most kids are walking and running by 18 months, and we are just celebrating Harlow, you know, being able to sit up and hold her head up. You know, she doesn't do it on her own yet, but she is definitely gaining strength.
She's loving her life to the fullest that she can. And, you know, her limitations physically doesn't mean that she doesn't have her own feelings and emotions.
What really makes her laugh is sneezes and coughs. And it's even funnier when they're really real. But if you fake them, she laughs too. Choo!
Choo!
Choo! Choo!
Choo!
Choo!
One thing her disorder affects is an energy. It affects, obviously, if she can't process carbohydrates into energy, she has issues with energy, and she can be lethargic from it or tired all the time. And the thing is if it's something that she really wants to do or really wants to be a part of, she fights through it. And like the zoo, we were awake for 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours. Her typical awake windows, it's a lot longer than it used to be. She's on the ketogenic diet, which has increased it, but we started with maybe an hour of awake time. And now she's really moved up, and she's shown us that even if she's really wanting to be awake or into something, she'll be awake sometimes 5, 6, even 7 hours sometimes, and just wants to be part of stuff.
Are you proud of Harlow?
So proud of Harlow. You know, it's one of those things when you're doing like physical therapy with her, playing with her on the mat, and she does something, it's like extra special.
Yeah, man. I support us. I sent some money. I would urge you guys to send money here to, you know, if you don't have the money, I totally understand. Don't feel guilted into it, but fuck, man. You know, they need to raise 500 grand. That's nuts. I couldn't imagine going through something like that. That's horrible. That's got to be heartbreaking. So, you know, if you got it, instead of donating to me, you know, maybe donate to them.
To celebrate, just because, you know, we know how hard she has to work to move her muscles. I mean, you know, 6 months ago, she couldn't hold her head up like this. You know, so that's forward progress for her.
What do you think when she smiles at you?
That's actually really interesting, because I was talking to my wife the other day, and apparently something you have to do with kids. This is like, I'm learning new stuff. When it comes to kids, when they get older, you have to like, or when they're like young, not even older, you have to make sure you put them like on their stomach so that they look around, and they start developing like the muscles in their neck and their back and their head, or else they could develop like flathead syndrome or some shit like that. And so like, I never thought about that, but I wonder how that impacted like just being able to do that. You know, it's one of those things where she has this issue, and since she has very low energy, it could be difficult just to get her to develop correctly, like outside of that, just because you can't do simple things like, hey, encourage your kid to maybe walk or to like sit on their belly so they can move their head around and like all these other things. That's horrible. Yeah, well, good video. Hopefully you guys donate a little bit, even like $1, bro.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.